made it through a nail biter here.
San Diego County remains in the red tier for now. Where we go from here?
What's the holdup? That's why we're here today. What's the plan?
The state's second largest school system fails to come up with a reopening timeline.
I mean, I earned my spot to get here, and I know, I deserve to be here.
UCSD is the latest school to be involved in a college admissions scandal. Reaction from students on campus.
Plus, what you need to know to make sure your vote gets counted on Election Day. News 8 starts now.
After days of anxiously awaiting the state's latest coronavirus metrics, San Diego County manages to remain in the red tier. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee.
And I'm Barbara Lee Edwards. Today, 222 new cases were reported out of more than 8,100 tests. That's a positive rate of 3%. And with an updated case rate of 6.9, the county fell just below the threshold of the purple tier, which would have forced hundreds of local businesses to shut down their indoor operations once again. News 8's Richard Allen has more on today's decision and what local health officials are doing to keep our case numbers down.
Well, that's right. As one county supervisor put it today, we made it through a nail biter, narrowly avoiding that dreaded purple tier and granting businesses like these a reprieve.
We kind of squeaked by.
With only 0.1% to spare, San Diego County's COVID case rate per 100,000 residents came in at 6.9 on Tuesday, just enough so that we remain in the current red tier and sparing many businesses for the time being from having to shut down their indoor operations.
We certainly see a county that is hovering around that threshold between red and purple.
Leading up to today's anxiously anticipated numbers, some county leaders had been pushing for the state to exclude the high rate of COVID cases among SDSU students from the overall case rate. California's Health and Human Services Secretary Dr. Mark Ghaly today confirmed that that allowance was not granted.
There were no concessions made based on their data.
This comes as both USD and UCSD have also now reopened for the semester. County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says her office has been working with those schools to review their safe reopening plans to try to avoid a large number of COVID cases like at SDSU.
We are trying to get in front of any potential issues that might result in response to students going back to school.
County leaders Tuesday also expressed concern over the so-called yo-yo effect experienced by businesses constantly concerned with potentially falling into the most restrictive purple tier.
This nail biter effect is very trying.
At the end of the day, we ought to just focus on tackling COVID.
At this point, San Diego businesses can rest assured we will remain in the red tier for at least the next 14 days.
San Diego is essentially at 0 weeks towards moving backwards. It would take 2 more in the purple tier before that county or any county, for that matter, would move from red into purple.
And of course, the goal is to move forward into the even less restrictive orange tier. We could already do that based on our testing positivity rate, 3.8%. However, our case rate, now 6.9, would have to fall below a 4.
Many across San Diego are breathing a sigh of relief that we didn't fall into the state's most restrictive tier. But some businesses fear the emotional roller coaster they've been on is far from over. Adam Sparks owns Mangia Italiano on 3rd in Chula Vista and thinks the governor needs to put more weight on the mental toll the closures are having on people's health.
There's an increase in alcohol, there's an increase in overdoses, there's an increase of suicides, divorces. You know, finances are connected to a lot of well-being of how we look at life.
Sparks fears 60% of restaurants in the county will end up closing for good, especially after the first of the year when landlords can start evicting businesses for not paying rent.
And now to some developing news. Getting kids back into the classroom is proving extremely difficult in the state's second largest school system. San Diego Unified is facing growing criticism from parents. Tonight, they held a rally asking for a definitive plan for the reopening of in-person learning for most of its 100,000 students. News 8's Lamore Abrams reports.
Once again, the district says its reopening guidelines are based on science, not a specific date. But 3 weeks into the virtual school year, parents are putting growing pressure on officials for a change of plans.
And we simply want a plan.
Done with distance learning.
This distance learning is not a sufficient replacement.
San Diego Unified parents peacefully demonstrated outside district headquarters,
having to deal with perhaps the next 1 to 2 years
as board members met online.
It truly feels like boxes are being checked to say that our kids are online enough time to meet the standards versus them actually learning.
Hearing from emotional callers demanding for the reopening of in-person learning, or at the very least, a timeline.
And there's not a specific date, but there is a specific plan that we are putting in place.
The district says it first needs to figure out how to make COVID testing and tracing available to students and staff. Parents argue if other districts can do it, so can San Diego Unified.
Other districts in our county, even within the boundaries of which San Diego Unified services other campuses, are reopening. And so our question is, why can't San Diego Unified reopen?
Hundreds have signed a petition formed by the group Reopen SDUSD.
And it's extremely important, and we're passionate that we have options for the kids to go back to school.
But they don't represent all views. The San Diego Education Association polled 400 district parents. 59% say the district is moving at the right speed.
So we want to open in a way that is sustainable with all the ups and downs of the pandemic.
Meanwhile, the district is dealing with a major drop in enrollment, reporting a loss of 2,500 students this school year.
It's made a huge impact on our daily lives.
Amy Adams wants to see her kids back with their teachers and peers on a daily basis.
What's the holdup? That's why we're here today. What's the plan?
Part of the plan will begin at the end of the month with phase 1. Students with special education needs will be allowed to return to class for limited sessions. The second phase may depend on how well it goes.
A grim milestone for the United States today. More than 200,000 Americans have died of COVID-19. 20,000 American flags now cover the grounds of the National Mall in Washington, D.C., each one representing 10 U.S. victims of the coronavirus pandemic.
These flags are indicative not only of the lives lost, but of the families left behind and suffering.
Health experts believe the coronavirus will surge again as fall gets underway and the flu season begins. One of the disease models used by the White House now projects the U.S. death toll will rise to more than 375,000 by the end of the year.
Two Marines stationed at Camp Pendleton were arrested on federal drug charges today. Lance Corporals Anthony Weisenhond and Ryan White are facing charges connected to a scheme to distribute drugs, including oxycodone pills laced with fentanyl, to civilians and fellow Marines, one of whom suffered a deadly overdose in May. If convicted, White could face up to 10 years in federal prison. Weisenhond's charges carry a heavier sentence. He could be put away for 20 years. Tonight, a woman who was on parole is back behind bars after allegedly stabbing her father. It happened in Lakeside. Around 9:40 this morning in the 12,000 block of Woodside Avenue, sheriff's deputies found the man stabbed in the abdomen and arm. He was taken to the hospital in critical but stable condition. Over an hour later, a witness spotted the suspect hiding behind a trash bin and told deputies. 25-year-old Hannah Wagatse was arrested and booked into Las Colinas. She is set to be arraigned on Friday.
An emotional tribute today to a fallen firefighter and San Diego native who died battling the El Dorado fire. Fire crews stood at attention as the body of 39-year-old Charlie Morton was escorted from the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office to a mortuary in Orange County. Morton was a crew boss with the Big Bear Hotshots. He died on Thursday while trying to contain the fire sparked by a gender reveal party. It's not clear yet whether those responsible for starting the fire will face charges in his death. Today, the Bobcat fire grew to more than 112,000 acres, making it the third largest LA County fire on record. Crews set defensive fires around the Wilson Observatory and communications towers in the San Gabriel Mountains. Fire officials confirmed 29 structures have been destroyed and said dozens more may have been lost in the Antelope Valley. Tonight, that fire is 17% contained, up just a bit from 13% last night.
Coming up tonight, 4 schools get a failing grade during an audit of the UC Systems admissions process, including UC San Diego. We'll have a look at the report that found improper influence in the student selection process. And a local nonprofit is making waves, how they pulled off their biggest event of the year during the pandemic.
For today, we had air quality that was more good than anything else. We did have a couple spots that were still in that moderate range, but this looks to be the case into tomorrow, and temperatures are going to start to warm up. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast after the break.
In the wake of the national college admissions scandal, top California schools are now under scrutiny.
A new state audit of the UC Systems admissions process was released today, and 4 campuses got a failing grade, including UC San Diego. News 8's Carrie Lane explains the details of the audit and has reaction from students at UCSD.
Good evening. That state audit that was released today revealed 13 applicants that were improperly admitted as student athletes. One of those in question belongs to UC San Diego. I caught up with some students on campus earlier tonight and got their reaction.
I mean, that's one spot that, wasn't taken by someone who really deserved it.
I guess it's not fair to everyone else.
The audit released today examined admission policies and practices over the past 6 academic years and included 4 of the UC's 9 campuses. According to the report, the University of California inappropriately admitted at least 64 applicants.
Were really admitted based on some of their connections. They were well connected. Perhaps to a donor, to perhaps to an executive that worked at the campus, or an alumnus.
This email exchange between Cal athletic coaches highlights how non-athletes got tagged as athletes and were given preferential status on their application. An assistant coach wrote, quote, "The family has made it clear they would like to add the legacy of the sports team and their family at Berkeley to the tune of the amount redacted donation. Figured I'd double check with you guys before I told them thanks/no thanks." The head coach replied with a wine glass emoji and 5 thumbs up along with this message. Amount redacted up front this year? The thought of a UCSD student getting accepted based on falsified athletic abilities leaves some feeling frustrated.
I feel a little robbed of like opportunities, because it's like I did the UC application and they just got it on an athletic scholarship.
Michelle Siqueiros, president of the Campaign for College Opportunity, called the audit findings upsetting.
The University of California needs to better reflect the diversity of our state, and certainly we don't need to be giving away spots at the UC to students that don't deserve them.
This audit marks the state's second effort in the past 4 years to scrutinize the UC's admission process. From UC San Diego, I'm News 8's Carrie Lane.
Carlene, first day of fall, and it was a little cooler. It was finally kind of nice out there.
That's right, Marcella. We definitely had those seasonal temperatures that were in full swing, so I was feeling comfortable earlier today. A little toasty if you just, looked at towards the inland valleys. We still had those 90s, but right with those 70s closer towards the coast, it was pretty comfortable. So as we went into our forecast, started fall, pretty nice this afternoon. Near seasonal highs really dominated overall. We had the 80s and 70s for the mountains, 70s right along the coast, except for 80 degrees was a high today for Oceanside. Some 90s for the inland valleys, 103 degrees. That was the high today for Borrego Springs. So actually we got to adjust that number right there. So we're definitely about 5 degrees above seasonal for Borrego Springs, as well as 7 for Ramona, just by a few degrees for downtown. So it was a nice change of pace compared to the excessive heat that we've had recently. And Mother Nature is going to throw us a curveball as we go into your forecast, and you'll see that we're not done with that heat just yet. Before tonight, we are looking at those temperatures, a lot of 60s that we're seeing out there for mountains all the way towards the coast, but 50 degrees currently for Mount Laguna, still on the warm side in Borrego Springs at 89 degrees, 66 degrees for Oceanside, 63 for Poway. Wind speeds picking up, onshore flow. We're seeing wind speeds out of the southwest, out of about the double digits. So that's for Julian, same for Mount Laguna, as well as seeing it pick up for the desert too. Gusts have calmed down overall. We had more of a breeze earlier this evening, but now we're seeing some double digits, only at 11 miles per hour for Boulevard, much of the same for Escondido. High pressure, that's going to be our main weather maker over the next couple of days. That ridge is going to build in. So uptick with those temperatures, not by a lot, but by a few degrees. So by tomorrow, about 5 degrees warmer with those daytime highs. And then we're talking about 5 to 10 degrees by Thursday. But then let's shift gears yet again. That's with the trough of low pressure that's going to move in right along the west, and as a result, nudging out that ridge of high pressure, bringing in some cooler air. Also, the marine layer will extend all the way to the coastal mountain slopes yet again. Next couple of days won't be the case, really favoring the coast, and that will be with that potential for some patchy dense fog in spots. Then we're shifting gears after that again, and so then temperatures warm up, and that will take us from Sunday all the way into next week. Daytime highs will be on the hot side. This is a stronger ridge of high pressure, and this will bring us right back into triple-digit temperatures for the inland valleys. Your 8-day microclimate forecast has the 80s and 90s for the coast and for the inland valleys tomorrow. And then we're going to take a break, as I mentioned, that trough moving in. So Friday and Saturday, back to seasonal or even below seasonal in some spots, especially at 85 degrees for Saturday for the inland valleys, warming right back up again by next week. Upper 80s for the coast as well as low 100s for the inland valleys. Also seeing that same exact trend with those 90s and 90s and triple digits. That will be for the mountains. Low 100s. That will take us into the weekend for the desert. 110 arrives yet again by Monday. Back to Barbara Lee.
All right. Thanks, Carlene.
Welcome.
You know, the Boys to Men Mentoring Program usually has their 100 Wave Challenge fundraiser in the fall, and it is happening for their 11th year, but with a few twists. To make it COVID compliant, they're spreading it out, limiting the teams at multiple surf spots through late November, where they'll have 10 hours to catch 100 waves. The challenge typically generates 60% of the annual funds needed for the program that mentors at-risk boys. Surf Ambassador Ernie Hahn says every dollar has an immediate impact.
Where else could you turn the needle that quickly and affect the lives of 1,100 kids here locally? You could get immediate return with this critical need.
This event runs through November 22nd. If you'd like to get involved, you can go to our website, CBS8.com, and click on the Help button. Coming up tonight, we're going out and about for a little wine tasting with Jenny Milkowski.
Look, some people like beer goggles. Me, I like wine glasses. Next up, taking you to a female-owned winery in Escondido. Listen, with all the stuff happening in the world these days, it's not good to keep things bottled up. That's why I'm gonna wine a little and let sip happen as I get ready to meet the woman behind Altipiano Vineyard and Winery in Escondido. So I am basically on cloud wine, if you will. Awesome. With Denise Clark, female-owned winery, black-owned winery, and your dreams to own a vineyard literally kind of grew out of the ashes of this former avocado grove.
Absolutely. In 2007, the avocado grove burned in the Witch Creek fire, and little did we know that when we were in southern Tuscany earlier that year, that a few months later, we would be thinking about planting a vineyard. And my husband actually came up with the idea. We planted 3,600 vines.
And I read that, you know, when you were little, you always had your hands dirty, and it's kind of the deal now.
And you know, I learned that Dad's family came from farmers, and I think it's kind of in your blood. So I think there's some things that are just intuitive that you just are drawn to.
I read, you know, sometimes people would meet you and your husband, you've been married, what, 30 years together,
Yes.
and they'll look at him and assume that he's the vintner and he knows all the wine stuff, but no, it's you.
He'll be the first to tell you he has no nose or palate, and which is pretty funny because he doesn't.
And I have to ask, you know, it's just, you know, I'm a woman. It's just very empowering to see a woman own a winery in San Diego. There's not many of you.
No.
And then to boot, you're a black female who owns this winery.
Right. There's very few women that are female winemakers, and especially those that weren't classically trained. Thank God for all the mentors that I've had over the years.
You know, you're trying to make this place inclusive for people of all backgrounds to feel welcome. And I have to ask you, where did the name Altipiano come from?
The fact that it has piano in there, Peter immediately came up with the tagline, the music of wine, and wine is musical, it's magical. So our tagline's the music of wine.
I I love that. So cheers to that. I say in my language, na zdrowie. What do you say? Cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers. So take this time to wind down and make some poor decisions. Saluti!
That beautiful
Wishing
little
you
getaway
verbally
right in our
a
own
virtual
backyard, Marcella.
cheers.
How lovely.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll have to meet up there one day.
Deal.
Starting tonight, here's somewhere else that we could meet up. There's a new drive-in family entertainment option at the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
Oh, I love these options. It's called Concerts in Your Car. You'll be able to enjoy a socially distant show on a massive 360-degree stage right from behind the wheel of your car. There will also be movies, live concerts, and a holiday light show. Tickets are online. They're $29. That's a flat rate per vehicle, and the concession stand comes to you.
You're able to order right there. We'll text you when it's time to pick it up, and we have a pickup window. So everything's really thought out and socially distant.
I love it. You can choose to stand outside your car or bring a lawn chair, but you have to have a mask on. For tickets and more information, go to our website, cbs8.com, and click on the help button.
A little sense of normalcy coming back. Music heals the soul too, so it looks really exciting.
All good stuff.
Still ahead on News 8 at 10, it is National Voter Registration Day. Have you voted? Have you registered to vote, rather? How to make sure your vote counts.
Plus, President Trump says he'll announce his pick for the Supreme Court later this week. And it doesn't get much more frustrating than this. Scammers take advantage of California's unemployment system, ruining it for those who need it desperately right now.
This is News 8 at 10.
President Donald Trump says he plans to announce his Supreme Court pick to fill the late Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on Saturday. Welcome back. I'm Marcella Lee.
And I'm Barbara Lee Edwards. Top Senate Republicans are confident they have the numbers to act on that nominee before the election. Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
Senate Republicans say they have the votes to move forward on a Supreme Court nominee after Utah's Mitt Romney announced he will back a vote.
If a nominee actually reaches the floor, then I will vote based upon the qualifications of that nominee.
We have an obligation under the Constitution, should we choose to take advantage of it, to fill the vacancy, and I assure you that's very likely to happen.
Senate Democrats have vowed to oppose the nomination.
The names we've heard are not acceptable at all, not even close.
President Trump says he'll announce his Supreme Court pick here at the White House this Saturday, after the services for the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg have concluded.
We're going to pick an incredible woman, brilliant woman, and watch the abuse that she will take. Whoever the decision's going to be announced on Saturday, 5 o'clock on Saturday, at the White House.
CBS News has learned the president met in person with one of the frontrunners on his shortlist, federal appeals judge Amy Coney Barrett, at the White House. Judge Barrett is a favorite among religious conservatives.
We're in the middle of an election. They should wait.
2020 Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden says a high court nominee should not be considered until after the election. More than half of swing voters surveyed in a new CNBC Change Research poll say President Trump should not be able to nominate a replacement if he loses his bid for re-election. Skylar Henry, the White House.
If you think you're registered to vote, but just want to make sure, it's easy to do and takes less than 30 seconds. Go to sdvote.com, click Register to Vote, then check your registration status here. Enter your house number, date of birth, zip code, and hit Submit to double check your information. It's that easy. If your voter information comes up and is correct, you're all set. But if no registration is found or you need to make a correction, just click on Register to Vote, which will take you to the California Secretary of State online voter registration page, where you can fill out all of your information. The voter registration deadline is Monday, October 19th. But what happens if you miss the deadline? You can still register conditionally after this date and cast a provisional ballot, but it won't be counted until your information is verified and it's been confirmed you haven't already voted. So to avoid delays, register before the deadline. For more information, go to sdvote.com.
In honor of Voter Registration Day, Foot Locker is teaming up with Rock the Vote to help get young people registered ahead of the 2020 election, one easy step at a time. Starting today, Foot Locker customers can sign up in more than 2,000 stores, including the Kids and Lady Foot Locker stores, as well as Champs and Foot Action. San Mateo County in the Bay Area started testing its elections equipment today, and with all the concerns over possible voter fraud, they invited the public to take a look. As John Ramos shows us tonight, elections officials wanted to show the lengths they go to make sure the vote count is accurate.
At the San Mateo Elections Office, it's business as usual in a most unusual year. The county has embraced widespread mail-in balloting since 2015, but Jimmy Rosari, the Assistant Chief Elections Officer, admits there is added pressure this year.
We're absolutely concerned that there may be misinformation and disinformation that's out there that is really inaccurate.
This week, the county is testing the accuracy and functionality of all its elections devices, and they've invited the public in to see how it all works. This morning, a small group of Republican voters stopped by.
Being able to come here to observe, I said, I definitely should learn more about how the machine works, how they process the whole thing.
But they are only here because there has been doubt raised about the fairness of the system. President Trump has told his followers the only way he can lose is if the election is rigged. And Democrats are convinced the U.S. Postal Service is being sabotaged to prevent voting. And each side feels the other will not be willing to accept the results if their candidate is defeated.
I'm sure that the Democrats won't trust the election results if they lose, because they've never agreed to any election results when it's not their win.
One side will accept it, but the other side will definitely not accept it.
You don't think the Republicans will accept this?
Exactly!
So it may feel like a no-win situation for the election staff. But after 5 years of gathering and counting ballots without a single irregularity, they are confident they can deliver a fair election, and they don't care who's looking over their shoulder as they do it.
We are experienced, and we know exactly how to administer vote-by-mail elections, which are amongst the safest and securest elections in the United States.
To learn more about voter registration and the voting process here in San Diego, just text the word VOTE to 858-571-8888, and we'll send you a complete voter guide.
Caught on camera in New York, a disturbing act of racism as a jogger is attacked simply because of the color of her skin.
Oh. Did you get that? I think I did.
The video shows a white woman throwing a bottle at a black runner and yelling a racial slur at her, which we censored in the video. The attacker, identified as 53-year-old Lorena De Laguna, has been charged with attempted assault as a hate crime and aggravated harassment. The district attorney released a statement saying, quote, "Crimes like this, which are fueled by hate, are in a special category for a reason. No one should have to endure being called a vile slur or being attacked simply because the color of their skin." Tonight, much of downtown Louisville, Kentucky is boarded up and blocked to vehicle traffic as the city braces for a decision from the state attorney general on whether any police officers will be charged in the March 13th killing of Breonna Taylor. The shooting death of the unarmed 26-year-old EMT during a no-knock raid has sparked more than 100 days of protests in the city. Louisville police say that whatever the outcome, they are trying to protect business owners and protesters as well.
Well, we have restricted vehicular access for public safety. If you've seen some of the vehicular attacks that have happened in this country and across the world, that is exactly what we're thinking about.
Officials say they don't know exactly when that decision will come down.
COVID-19 has created a gap in how members of certain political parties want to vote. That's according to a new study published today by a UC San Diego-led research team. Based on polls from the spring and early summer, researchers found a significant preference for mail or absentee ballots among Democrats compared to Republicans. The report shows the gap doubled from a 10% difference in April to 20% in June. Researchers attribute the divide to signals from leaders of both parties and Republican partisans' distrust in science and experts. As we've reported this week, California's Employment Development Department, or EDD, has paused all claims for 2 weeks to look at potentially widespread fraud sweeping the state. The move comes after police say they caught people flocking to Beverly Hills to use fraudulent EDD cards to buy designer purses, sports cars, and pricey dinners. Christine Lazar has the details.
They come here to Beverly Hills to the designer shops on Rodeo Drive and surrounding retailers to spend millions of your tax dollars.
Shoes, clothing, purses, anything of high dollar value they were spending the money on from the EDD cards.
Beverly Hills police have now busted 87 people in less than 2 weeks for alleged EDD fraud and identity theft. Detectives say they recovered 181 fraudulent EDD cards with a value of over $3.6 million. They also found $466,000 in cash and 7 handguns. Most of those arrested are not from California.
80% of the arrestees were from out of state, and they're renting Airbnbs or rentals, and they were using renting high-end cars.
Investigators say the thieves were able to go to EDD's website and apply for unemployment under someone else's name.
They're using people that were deceased, either in jail, at nursing homes, or getting someone else's personal identifying information and then entering that information into the computer, which would then send a card out to that address.
Earlier this month, we showed you stacks and stacks of EDD letters addressed to multiple people being mailed to homes for sale throughout Southern California. Many of them had EDD debit cards inside. And while thieves are getting rich off of fraudulent claims, people like David Fleming of Santa Ana have been waiting months to get their benefits. To date, how much money have you got or not gotten?
Zero. Haven't even got a response, much less a money.
The veteran says he has called, emailed, and even gone down to EDD in person, but has never gotten a response back. He finally filed another claim 2 weeks ago, but he says when he went to certify for benefits, he got this error message.
There's no words. And I'll get too emotional if I do. It's horrible.
September is Hispanic Heritage Month, and we are celebrating those who are making an impact in their communities, including San Diego police officer Detective Luis Sandoval. Sandoval came to the U.S. from Mexico when he was 6 months old, growing up in East L.A. before joining the Navy at age 17 and becoming a U.S. citizen while stationed here in San Diego. After the Navy, he got his degree and started a career in law enforcement here, where he says he is living the American dream.
I have everything I could have ever wanted. I have a beautiful family. I've been able to do so many things in the United States, serve my country, become a naturalized citizen, vote, and that's just something that I love about the United States.
Sandoval says his advice to young people is to get involved in school, community, and family. Halloween isn't canceled this year. There are still plenty of safe ways to celebrate.
Today, the CDC released its breakdown of activities that are considered low risk and some that are better to avoid. Let's take a look. Low risk activities include carving pumpkins with your family, maybe doing a virtual costume contest. That risk level starts to go up when it comes to things like pumpkin patches. The CDC says if you are going to one, wear a mask, use hand sanitizer, and keep your distance from others. Outdoor costume parades also have a moderate risk of spreading the virus.
High-risk activities that should be avoided include traditional trick-or-treating, indoor haunted houses, hay rides with people outside of your household, and Halloween parties. And you should not try to substitute costume masks for a face mask. In fact, the CDC recommends staying away from costume masks altogether this year. And Barbara, I know since it does fall on a Saturday, it might be tempting to get together, but we're doing a good job today. The information came out about us staying in the red tier. We have to just keep our social distance and keep those case rates down.
Scary movie and some snacks. That's what's on tap for us.
Stay with us.
A trip to the Zevely Zone is coming up next.
It's never too late to make music. The Strumming Seniors coming up in the Zevely Zone.
Waves right along the coast, we're talking 2 to 4 feet. Also, water temperature of 68 degrees for tomorrow. Moderate risk of rip currents at our local beaches. Your sunrise will be at 6:37. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast after the break.
A group of seniors who call themselves the Sometimes Strummers are proving it's never too late in life to make music.
In tonight's Zeppeli Zone, Jeff is at La Costa Glen in Carlsbad, where class is in session.
Ready, go, I come from Alabama.
Life for all of us will eventually end.
Need G7, back to C. Go.
But the number of songs you can sing with 3 chords goes on and on.
Here comes the F. Oh, Suzanne, oh, don't you cry for me.
Jerry Rahill is teaching the ukulele to seniors at the La Costa Glen Retirement Community.
Whenever you have a passion, I think, you want to share it. A7, 2, 3, 4, D7, 2, 3, 4.
Everyone's COVID calendar is a little jumbled, so Marianne picked up her mother's old instrument and figured, why not?
Normally on Tuesday morning I do ceramics class, but that's closed.
Carl says it's never too late in life to make music.
And now I'm working on bass guitar.
For Rona, strumming one of these is like taking a tropical vacation.
Blue moon.
Far away from pandemic problems.
You knew just what I was there for. Good.
Well, you tell me. I mean, it's been, pretty confining for someone who has loved to travel.
But there's something about this tiny instrument that feels like taking one last big trip to the shores of Waikiki.
It's all coming back to you, right, Marianne?
Marianne set down the ukulele.
Oh, we're going to a hooky.
In order to get up on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah, everybody does a hula sometime.
In the Zeppeli Zone.
And the audience threw money.
Jeff Zeppeli, News 8.
So what I was doing there.
We were just saying we might like to join that class, Carly.
Yes.
Right? That looked like a lot of fun. And there's something so soothing and fun sounding about the ukulele, isn't there?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, I was like rocking back and forth, not like she was when she was like all skilled, but very soothing.
Vacation mode, I think they call it. And here we are at the end of summer, which is right when our vacation begins locally, isn't it?
Yeah. For the most part. Also, I'm thinking Mai Tai mode. So might be trading in that glass of wine for Mai Tai tonight, just kind of relaxing. Yeah, we're talking about vacation mode around here. Summer, well, it's still around temperature-wise, but we did kick off fall for today, and temperatures are on the warm-up next couple of days, and then we're going to go back to that seasonal range, and then we have more heat that's going to take us into the start of October. This is the view looking west from Lyons Peak. Pretty quiet for tonight. We do have some low clouds that are starting to move in with that marine layer. 69 degrees currently for downtown. Also winds out of the north at 7 miles per hour. Relative humidity is at 78%. We are seeing high humidity values. That is reflective of that marine layer moving in. We're seeing that extend all the way towards the inland valleys. For the mountains, still pretty dry, as well as the desert. But that's going to shift gears as we go into our forecast for next week as well. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to next week. So taking a look at the big view before we get to that point, we are looking at scattered showers across the 4 corners. Also still seeing shower activity for the Pacific Northwest. That is such a good sign. Definitely helping with air quality as well as putting out fires. Also talking about a lot of rain, not a good sign, especially for the tropics, as it continues to surge in, all associated with that tropical system that has been plaguing Texas. It is now post-tropical, so post-tropical beta, and it's about 40 miles to the west-southwest of Galveston, Texas. It's a slow mover at 8 miles per hour. Even though it has lost that tropical characteristic, just keep in mind, they cannot have their guard down because we're still talking about a lot of shower activity as it rains itself out, being post-tropical all the way until Friday. Models are suggesting pockets of moisture upwards about 2 to 4, and even potentially still seeing some downpours across Louisiana around the 8 to 9 range with inches for rainfall. And that's going to continue to extend out as it rains itself out, and you're still seeing rain even moving in towards Tennessee in the days ahead. For our forecast, we're shifting gears. So a little bit warmer than usual by tomorrow by 5 to 10 degrees. And then back to seasonal as we go into the start of the weekend. So Friday and Saturday, perfect days to be outside. Couldn't ask for anything better. But then Sunday arrives, gusty at times with Sunday. That's also going to lead to dry conditions. And I want to go ahead and let you know we definitely have to be on alert because of the potential for fire weather. Starting on Sunday, that will take us all the way into next week. We're talking heat, we're talking wind, also dry conditions are expected with offshore flow picking up. Temperatures will be into the upper 90s for the inland valleys, 101 on Wednesday. Taking a look at the mountains, reflective. It's basically the same as the inland valleys. You're going from the 80s into the 90s. And also triple-digit heat by Wednesday. 110 looks to be the high for the desert on Monday and Tuesday. So not done with the heat just yet because the calendar does reflect fall, but these temperatures far from it. We'll go ahead and toss it to Kyle.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Kyle Kraska. Coming up in sports, the Padres and the Angels go toe-to-toe at Petco Park. We've got highlights of that for you. Plus, the Lakers look to take a 3-0 series lead on the Nuggets. All the best highlights coming up right after this.
Now, News 8 Sports. Here's Kyle Kraska.
Well, it is the final week of baseball's regular season, and who knew our Padres would have already clinched a playoff spot with 6 games to play. Tonight, our Friars hosting the LA Angels at Petco Park, game 1 of a quick 2-game series. Padres up 1-0 in the second. Max Stassi taking Zach Davies deep to left center field for the solo home run, 436 feet, and the game is tied 1 apiece. The Friars had multiple chances to break things open. Bases loaded here from Manny Machado in the third, but he grounds into the 1-2-3 double play. Padres blowing multiple opportunities with the bases loaded tonight. Still tied here in the 6th, and it's Stassi again. A 2-run shot off Davies this time. Straightaway center field he goes, another 400-footer. How about 4 hits on the night for Stassi, and the Angels lead it 3-1. Adding on here in the 8th inning, Luis Rengifo lays down the safety squeeze. Close play at the plate, but Taylor Ward scores, and the Angels beat the Padres by a final of 4-2. The series finale tomorrow at Petco Park. Meanwhile, in Cleveland tonight, the Indians clinched a playoff spot in dramatic fashion.
Hit in the air, deep right center, angles back, he's out of room, it's out of here! The Indians walk off the White Sox, a stunner here in Cleveland.
2 outs in the 10th inning, and Jose Ramirez clobbers a 3-run home run to beat the White Sox 5-3. The Tribe has made the postseason 4 times in the last 5 years. The NBA playoffs resuming tonight in Orlando. The Los Angeles Lakers, fresh off that thrilling buzzer-beating victory on Sunday, looking to take a commanding 3-0 series lead over the Denver Nuggets. Straight to the third quarter we go. Anthony Davis stripped of the ball. Jeremy Grant takes it all the way in for the layup, and Denver would build an 18-point lead. Fourth quarter now, Lakers go on a run. Rajon Rondo, the steal, up ahead to LeBron James. He gets the fast break jam, and the Lakers would cut that lead to 3. But Denver's Jamal Murray with another big night. Alex Caruso guarding him, hits the step-back 3 to put the lead back to 7. And then later, Murray again from even deeper hits another one. The net barely even moved. Denver would go on to win 114-106. The Lakers still lead that series 2-1. And that's going to do it for this Tuesday night. Stay safe, everybody. I'm Kyle Kraska, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
San Diego Zoo Global is celebrating World Rhino Day with 2 of its cutest residents at the safari park.
They're favorites of ours, that's for sure. 2 southern white rhino calves explored their habitat, jogging around the other animals. Look at that. At one point, the 2 even took mud baths. Who doesn't enjoy a mud bath on a hot day? Today aims to bring awareness to their dwindling numbers in the wild. They were both born via artificial insemination last year, which scientists say is key in conservation efforts. You can help support those efforts by visiting these cuties in person. There's your excuse. Go visit the rhinos.
I love their ears.
I know. Everything about them's cute.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything. Just prancing around.
We'll add that to our
night,
list,
Barb.
Marcella. Good night.